It looked like harmless fun on screen, but behind the double-decker, things got surprisingly messy. Here are the jaw-dropping truths from Britain's wildest comedy ride. Fact 1.
Your missus? She can cook for a canteen?
Oh, yes, indeed. She has worked in canteen for 2 years.
She? Oh, I'll give her a try, yeah. Here, wait a minute. You sure she'll know what the blokes will want?
Goodness gracious me.
Before it became a cultural hit, On the Buses was turned down flat. The BBC didn't see potential in a sitcom about bus drivers and conductors. Executives thought the humour was too lowbrow and not suitable for prime time. Writers Ronald Wolfe and Ronald Chesney took their concept elsewhere. They pitched it to London Weekend Television, who gave it the green light. Ironically, the show became one of ITV's biggest hits. The BBC later admitted they'd made a mistake. The Rejection sparked one of the biggest rivalries in British television. BBC producers even tried to create copycat series in response. The show's working-class humour connected with millions of viewers. Its bawdy jokes and cheeky characters were exactly what the public wanted. The pilot drew strong ratings, and the rest was history. By the second season, it was regularly beating BBC's flagship programmes. Critics dismissed it, but audiences loved it. What the BBC considered vulgar, fans called hilarious. The success embarrassed the BBC for years. They had let a comedy juggernaut slip away. The Rejection became a badge of honour for the writers. It proved they understood the audience better than the execs. And it cemented On the Buses as ITV's unexpected triumph. Behind the laughs was a network grudge that never really died. Sometimes rejection is just the beginning of legend. Fact 2.
That was all right to say. What? Oh!
I say, you all right?
Yeah.
Right, all right?
Yeah, let's give it another 5 minutes at number 6 and send the recipe to Jimmy Young.
Reg Varney played Stan Butler, the cheeky, woman-chasing driver. But when filming began, he was already in his early 50s. The character was written as much younger, mid-30s at most. Producers were concerned that Varney wouldn't look the part. To compensate, they dressed him in youthful clothes. His makeup routine became a daily effort to hide wrinkles. Varney joked that he was the oldest teenager on telly. Despite the age gap, he pulled off the role convincingly. His comic timing and charisma won over viewers immediately. But behind the scenes, he struggled to keep up with the physical demands. Running, jumping, and slapstick became harder each season. Stunt doubles were used more frequently as the show went on. Varney once injured his back during a scene involving a fall. The public never suspected a thing. His youthful energy on screen masked the reality. Cast members often joked about his real age off camera. Varney embraced the banter, but he also felt the pressure. He knew the role made him a household name. Despite the strain, he remained dedicated until his final appearance. The age difference became a running joke among the crew. Yet few characters were as beloved as Stan. And none wore their years quite so well. Fact 3.
Do they have bus driver's stomach too?
No, they get conductors' flat feet.
Working with buses wasn't just a gimmick, it was a daily hazard. The production used real double-deckers during outdoor scenes. Many of the vehicles were old, unreliable, and prone to breakdowns. Cast and crew regularly suffered minor injuries on set. Doors jammed, engines failed, and brakes occasionally gave out. One bus famously rolled into a parked car during filming. Stephen Lewis, who played Blakey, had his foot run over during a rehearsal. Camera operators complained about the tight, dangerous setups. During one episode, smoke from a malfunctioning bus nearly caused evacuation. The studio sets weren't much safer. Slippery floors led to multiple falls. Rigged props failed to collapse on cue. Varney once hit his head on a low beam mid-scene, but they often kept filming to preserve the moment. Safety standards were looser than today's regulations. Production pushed through, determined to finish each episode. Some cast members had to seek medical treatment during filming blocks. Still, morale remained high thanks to the show's runaway success. The cast joked they were risking life and limb for a laugh. Behind every slapstick gag was real danger. It added authenticity and plenty of bruises. Comedy rarely came this close to calamity. Fact 4.
Do They won't let us drive the buses. What will you let us do?
Shall we tell them?
On-screen chemistry doesn't always mean harmony off-screen. Tensions between cast members were a well-known secret. Stephen Lewis and Reg Varney reportedly clashed over comedic styles. Varney wanted looser improvisation while Lewis preferred sticking to the script. Anna Karen, who played Olive, often felt sidelined in storylines. She campaigned for more scenes with deeper character focus. Bob Grant, who played Jack, grew frustrated with typecasting. He feared the role was hurting his future career prospects. Behind the laughter were very real egos at play. Disagreements sometimes delayed filming. Producers worked hard to keep tensions quiet, but tabloids eventually picked up on the drama. Grant once walked off set over a script rewrite. Makeup and costume departments became unofficial peacekeepers. Despite the friction, professionalism usually won out. They knew the public adored the ensemble, and they weren't willing to let personal disputes ruin the show. Still, some scenes had noticeably stiff energy between actors. Fans noticed, but forgave it. The show was too beloved to fail. Even in chaos, the wheels kept turning, and the bus always made it to the next stop. Fact 5.
All it wants is your own neck stretched up this way.
Hey, Bert!
Yeah.
Are you a bone man or an hangman?
Now look, you've got to relax.
Yes, you read that right. The On the Buses films were box office monsters. The first movie, released in 1971, shocked everyone with its success. It made more money in the UK than the James Bond film Diamonds Are Forever. That wasn't a fluke. The second and third films also topped the charts. Critics were baffled by their popularity. They dismissed the humour as crude and outdated, but audiences couldn't get enough. Families queued around the block to see them. Cinemas had to extend showings by weeks. Merchandise flew off the shelves. The films expanded the show's universe with bigger sets and new characters. They allowed the cast to take more risks, and they reached international audiences in Australia and New Zealand. Despite critical snubs, the financial success couldn't be denied. The On the Buses films became some of the most profitable British comedies ever made. Even the Bond producers reportedly took notice. Executives at ITV were stunned. A scrappy sitcom had become a cinema juggernaut. The cast earned far more from the films than from TV, and the franchise cemented its place in comedy history. Fact 6.
How'd it feel, mate?
Oh, that matter barging. Go on, Bill, you see, I got spots before the eyes. Oh.
Bob Grant made millions laugh as the cheeky conductor Jack. But behind the scenes, he battled with severe depression. Fame didn't bring him peace, it brought pressure. He felt typecast, unable to escape his comedic persona. Despite his charm on screen, he often felt isolated. He spoke candidly about mental health in interviews, rare for the 70s. Bob even wrote about suicide in his personal journals. He survived multiple breakdowns during the show's later years. At one point, he attempted to take his own life. Friends and colleagues rallied around him, but the struggle never fully went away. He continued working in theatre and radio, but never matched On the Buses. Success, eh? His honesty about mental illness was ahead of its time. Fans had no idea the cost behind his smile. Grant said comedy was his only therapy. In later years, he campaigned for better support for actors with depression. His story adds a tragic layer to the show's legacy. While audiences laughed, Bob was quietly fighting for his life. He reminded us that behind every joke, there may be pain. Jack was loved, but Bob needed help. He left behind more than laughs. He left a warning. Fact 7.
I didn't know there was anyone else here.
Here, take the cat.
The character of Olive wasn't pure fiction. She was inspired by a real-life woman close to the writers. Ronald Chesney based her on his own sister-in-law. He said she had the same frazzled energy and odd fashion sense. Anna Karen, who played Olive, added her own eccentric flair. She wore oversized glasses and padded clothing to exaggerate the look. Off-screen, Anna was glamorous and elegant. Fans often didn't recognize her in real life. She loved the contrast, calling Olive her anti-self. Writers gave her increasingly outrageous lines to play up the absurdity. But Olive wasn't just comic relief. She represented the underappreciated British housewife. Anna fought for Olive to have more depth. Occasionally, Olive showed moments of independence and heart. Audiences related to her frustration and honesty. Karen later said Olive was the most misunderstood character on the show. She even reprised the role in the Rag Trade revival, and she remained proud of the character to her final years. Olive may have been laughed at, but she was never forgotten. She was real to those who knew her, and millions saw a bit of themselves in her awkward charm. Fact 8. Even during its original run, On the Buses sparked controversy. Critics accused the show of promoting sexist stereotypes. Women were often portrayed as nags, flirts, or clueless. Many of the jokes centered on objectifying young female characters. Feminist groups voiced concern about its cultural impact. Some episodes even faced internal review by ITV. The producers defended the show as a product of its time. They claimed it reflected working-class humour of the 60s and 70s. Still, some sponsors reportedly pulled support after complaints. Cast members had mixed feelings. Anna Karen said she found some storylines cringeworthy in hindsight. Reg Varney, however, said the show never intended harm, and he saw it as cheeky, not nasty. Modern critics often view the show through a more critical lens. TV historians note how it captures outdated societal norms. Despite backlash, the show remained hugely popular. It wasn't politically correct, but it was reflective. It showed what people laughed at for better or worse. And it became a case study in comedy versus culture. Whether it crossed the line remains debated. But On the Buses never shied away from being bold. And that's part of what kept people watching. Fact 9. Stephen Lewis played Inspector Blakey with a scowl and a snarl, but even when the cameras stopped rolling, he rarely dropped the act. Crew members said he often stayed in character between takes. He would shout, "I'll get you, butler," during lunch breaks. Extras assumed he was actually that grumpy in real life, but in truth, he was quiet, thoughtful, and deeply professional. Lewis believed staying in character helped him perform better. He once said, "Blakey is a rhythm, and I can't break it." His method approach confused guest actors. Some avoided him off set, thinking he was unfriendly. He found it funny but never corrected them. He lived and breathed the role for years. Even children in public called him Blakey. He always responded in character, with a wink. After the show ended, he struggled to find non-Blakey roles. Typecasting hit him hard, but he never resented the role that made him famous. In later interviews, he embraced the legacy. He even reprised Blakey in spin-offs and sketches. Stephen Lewis became Blakey, and Blakey became Stephen Lewis. Rarely has an actor so fully embodied a part, and rarely has a grumble been so iconic. Fact 10. Unlike many long-running shows, On the Buses didn't get a grand finale. There was no emotional farewell episode, no montage, no fanfare, no final ride. The 7th series simply ended, and that was it. Behind the scenes, cast fatigue had set in. Reg Varney had already left before the final season. Bob Grant and others felt the format was getting stale. Writers struggled to keep the storylines fresh. ITV quietly pulled the plug without announcing it. Fans only realised it was over months later. There were no social media campaigns back then, no revivals, no official statements, just silence. The show faded from the schedule without drama, but reruns kept it alive on British television. By the mid-80s, it was considered a nostalgic classic, and it gained new audiences through syndication. The absence of closure became part of its mystique. Some viewers still hope for a tribute special. Others say it ended exactly how it should, with one last joke and the engine idling in the distance. Even goodbyes can be unspoken, and On the Buses knew when to let go.